I think it's time to get into scouting. When can we expect to get our hands on it?
We're targeting this first one for September.
I know I'm excited. I wonder who we should talk to about. Scott, don't look around. Staring right at you. Andre,
The nightmare will
tell us
continue.
what do we can expect.
I love putting that
with,
soundbite
the
in there.
revamp of scouting.
All right, so
That deep sigh really
Yeah, this
makes
was
me
Andre's
excited. I know that means there's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I've been waiting.
He's so excited. He was telling me about
So, scouting as a whole,
he was telling me about this when we were at the Senior Bowl in 2019 about the concepts he was drawing up. So I've known that this is coming for a
is
while.
being revamped. Obviously, you'll still be able to scout players.
But he finally
The
got
way
it
that we
approved
go
this year
about it
after
is
all the
entirely
fixed
different.
Madden franchise stuff.
We're moving away from
Really bad echo. Okay, thank you for. Hopefully you can still hear me.
the scouting point system, where you have a bucket of points each week and then you spend it on players. This is more making key decisions throughout the season that progress every single player on your board at different points. So you start things off essentially by getting a baseline scouting on every player in your class. You know, this guy runs fast, he can move well, he's strong. But there are key decision points that you're going to want to interact with because that'll shape how your board basically evaluates itself over the course of a season. So you'll be able to pick a position per each of your now 4 area scouts and a national scout. Rather than it just being a scouting department, you have individual scouts with strengths and weaknesses.
So I might have a guy who specializes in scouting quarterbacks.
Yeah, and you're going to send them out, the area scouts, to one of 4 regions on the map. You know, some regions have more schools than others, so we kind of cut them off a little bit at the
Absolutely
pass.
love
So
that.
each region has its merit.
Old Madden games were like that, were they not? Where you'd send them to a certain region, then you come back with new data.
Send a quality scout, and you'll be able to assign your scouts at the start of each season based on a preliminary big board. And the big board is changing in itself. It's no longer just, you know, here's all the players ranked. We're treating it more as a media big board. So a player has a few really good games in a row, right? And you see a news blurb pop up that this player just, you know, he's been dominant. You're going to see that he's going to move up the draft board.
That's really cool. I'm curious how that works with custom classes. I think that's interesting. That's a good question I'd have to ask Andre, but I think that's really cool. Just the dynamic player movement, mock drafts. That's really immersive. I think that's sweet.
So the AI itself is going to draft players based on the changes in perception and evaluation of the players, instead of it being that, you know, you find this guy in the 5th round and he's the best player in the class and he just sits there. That's not going to happen anymore. It's really going to be a lot more that if you find that player and you really key in on them at different scouting
Yeah, but will the Bengals still draft a quarterback after year 1?
events, you'll be able to gather a large amount of information, but it comes at a cost, and the cost is awareness for the media. So you send your national scout, and we call it focus scouting. This is one of the biggest milestones in terms of report completion that you're going to get. And when you do that, the media is going to be aware that you are attending this player's game. So if it's a 6th round player and you're sending your national scout, the guy who you want the best report from, to a 6th round player's game for that guy, they're going to be like, whoa, this guy
So
might
I can't
be
have
something.
any secrets is what you're saying. I can't secretly scout anyone.
You can scout in secret, but you might have to sacrifice a little bit of information.
That's really cool. I feel like that's more for online leagues, which is really cool. So you can follow the news feed and see which prospects guys might be targeting. That adds a ton of immersiveness to the draft. I doubt that changes like how they move up and down the draft board. That would be really high end. But that's really cool. I like that.
You'll have private workouts that you'll be able to do. Same premise, where you'll have a few players that you can bring in for those private workouts. And that'll give you a big boost in the report completion. But there's additional layers to it. So that big board ebbs and flows, and there'll be mock drafts.
It's like an
Well,
onion.
right now
There's
we have it
layers to
scheduled
this.
for 5 mock drafts over the course of the season. So as draft position changes, so does this. So if you need to make a decision on, oh man, I'm not going to be able to get to pick 16, and they're looking at this player and this position, I might have to jump them, or I have to change my plans on who I'm looking at. So
That's sweet, and that plays nicely. That works for offline leagues too. What he just said right there. They have features now where your coaching skills, you can get abilities that make it easier for you to trade up. So now you can really immerse yourself and be like, oh, Bucks are sitting there at 16, like Andre just said. They're gonna go take my dude. I gotta jump him. Good thing I have that ability that helps me trade up in the draft. There's so much more. There's so many more options. There's narratives. There's depth. This is why we get excited for this.
So the entirety is more information. And we've talked with former NFL personnel, former scouts, media members who do scouting, all sorts of different groups of people about the scouting process. And the one thing that always comes back to me is the aggregation of information is the hardest part of scouting, because you can understand every single layer of a player's skill set, but if you don't piece it together properly to make that full picture, it doesn't matter. And that's where a lot of people get tripped up. You can see this guy's fast or this guy has a big arm, but if you don't understand that, well, yeah, he has that big arm and he can throw deep, but because he doesn't have the mental processing or the awareness for our game's sake, then he's not going to be that guy that you would expect or that he was in college. You might not find their exact true talent range, and it's a range this year. Instead of saying this guy's a first round pick, it'll be, round 1 to round 2 or top 5, those blue chip players. Those are clear cut. And as you get later in the draft, that range is wider. So we want to give you as much information as possible without overwhelming.
Is there something built into the game that's going to prevent me from signing all the best scouts and turning the Cleveland Browns into the dynasty that they truly deserve to be? Don't tell me otherwise.
I describe it as there are
office kicking
tiers
ass
to your
right now.
scouting department that you need to fill. So rather than it
Should
being,
be
I have a
rated
certain amount
pretty
of
high.
points, or I'm just going to sign all the best scouts, you have, let's say, 3 tiers. And that really modifies how much additional bonus you get when scouting a position of expertise. So it's really not that you're picking the best scouts, you're picking the scouts that are most logical for you. You'll be
Even when they're maxed out, they're not. I think what he's saying is even when your scouts are maxed out, they're still not, like, they can't do everything. You still need to kind of pick what you're looking for.
Do you guys feel like there's something applicable here in scouting to the casual fan? Is this something that's valuable to somebody just picking up trying to win a Super Bowl?
So a casual fan, when we asked them, said, well, what do you want out of franchise? Well, I want to win Super Bowls. And so how do you win Super Bowls? You build your roster up
casual
over
fan,
years.
casual.
Still want to build a roster in the way that they want to build it to use it,
Y'all ain't
and
here
so
'cause you're
we
casual
monitor
mind players, to be
iterate.
honest.
And your touch point literally is assigning which region. You don't have it, your scouts will go out and do their thing immediately. You don't have to pick a single player. All you need to do is evaluate the big board, see a mock draft, say where you want them to go, and then
Ultimate Team actually, like a scenario to the season engine that says,
Don't say that word around here. Don't
Tom Brady.
Don't bring up the
suddenly
UT word.
Additional storytelling. Add to the story you already
ain't
have.
watching
And
this to
Ultimate
hear
Team is
about
like,
Ultimate
oh no, there's
Now, I think I can ask this. Is there anything you can tease that's coming to franchise post-launch?
You can ask.
I'm asking. I
That's-
am.
There are things we're thinking about for sure. We put a lot of energy towards resetting the baseline in terms of the feature set with franchise staff and the weekly strategy. Where we haven't put as much energy yet is maybe in terms of free agents
too
and
much here.
things like that. So that's an area that we think about and talk about is trades and whatnot. Is there something we can do there?
what is the relevant information at different points in the year that we can raise to you to make you care about not just your team, but kind of expand you out of that bubble.
on that where, like, especially when you play offline, it's like bubble's a perfect way to put it. Like, you are just your team, but now, like, they're gonna tell you who other teams are scouting. You really have to game plan for who you're playing that week. But yeah, just that immersiveness that we've been asking for.
Teams and the other people in a multiplayer league have to be part of that
That's
story.
what I'm so excited about.
The hub is
All the little things.
the most complex screen Madden's ever had, just with the amount of information that it brings to you all at once.
Cool. Yeah, we didn't get a ton of screenshots there, but I mean, it's just adding on the excitement, right? Sounds like you got your regional scouts. You kind of monitor the, maybe half of the draft that you want to. I'm trying to you
Later in the
kinda
draft,
tell you guys where you want to
delete
go.
information.
They'll come
There's
back
that-
with
I appreciate
information.
the
You
quarter.
send them back on assignment, just like real life.
Well,
But you might not. You might not go into the draft with a full-on confidence grade on a dude. But if you really focus on a guy, you can feel really damn good about who you're drafting there. So, yeah, it's deep, a lot of information. It's a whole new system. It looks dope. Looks dope on top of everything else. Can't complain, man. Madden 21 is going to be sweet.